I'm Spence Graham with Real Digital Media, a Stratacash company, and also chairman of the Digital Signage Federation. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey y'all, I'm Renee Benson at AV Renee KC, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
I'm James King, and I'm a writer for the higheredav.com media group, the IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hi, I'm Nancy Blanchard, and it's at Nancy Blanchard, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Hi, I'm Murphy Daly at writtenbymurphy.com. I'm an IT and AV project manager and an author for, among other things, the Rave Pubs. You are joining us for the AV Life.
And hi, I'm your host, Tim Van Wert from Rutgers University and a longtime member here on the AV Life. And you are watching and listening to us. Tonight, I could also say I am a member of HETMA. And the reason I bring that up tonight is because we have some members from HETMA here. We're going to discuss the upcoming HETMA conference that's coming up in February, which actually by the time you listen to this episode, it will be February. So happy February for everybody, or, March of day 400 of 2020 or something like that. So good evening to the crew. How are we all doing today?
Great.
Doing great.
It's another day in paradise, right?
Another day in paradise. Well, yeah, and it's good to have you all here with us, and it's some exciting things happening. As we announced last week, starting in this month, we are going to be doing our AV Rockstar as well. We'll be starting that next week with next week's episode. You'll find out who that is when we come up to there. So I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that right now. But I do want to first, before we dive into anything, I want to welcome our guests for tonight. We have four members of HETMA here. I'm gonna start with one who I demoted tonight, I guess you could say, into a guest mode, as opposed to crew member. Joe Way, how are you tonight, Joe Way?
I'm hurt tonight because last time I was on this show, I got to be a crew member, and now I'm just a guest. But it's okay, because you know who's also a guest? All the great members of HETMA. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for having me. So I came here. I've got my grandma's guest book background. I am ready to represent tonight.
You realize we keep score.
Oh,
I'm sure. I'm always walking the line. I never know what's going to happen with me tonight. I think maybe it has to do based on my previous performance, and I need to go back and listen to whatever it was. But no, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about HETMA. But you know what? We're excited to talk about the conference and some amazing things that we're doing tonight this year. I mean, in February 9th through the 11th. Sign up now at hetma.org.
There you go. Hey, Joe, don't you have a book as well?
I do have a book. It's called Producing Worship. You get it at producingworship.com.
Yeah. And there's also the higheredav.com website. So make sure you go there as well. I
wasn't going to do all the self-promotion yet. Was going to space it for the rest of the show, but thank you.
Let's just get it out of the way tonight.
Get it out. Higher Ed AV. We're all good. And you know what? Let's plug Murphy's books too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you guys can go check out my Murphy Daily page on Amazon. I've got 4 books that I've published. The first one actually has to do, it's a fictionalized story based on being a AV, running AV in the world. It's called Miriam the Camel Driver, the parable of Miriam the Camel Driver. And it's a good one. It's short and punchy.
Well, Renee and Nancy and I are going to write a book before the next time, and we'll let you know what that's going to be there. I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm excited.
We're behind.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like I got to write a book or something. I got to do something,
Well, if we're going to give shameless plugs, I need everybody to plug and cheer for the Chiefs because we're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Okay, I had to plug that. Okay.
There's the
Yes.
KC in your name, so you get to go there, draw some love towards your local
Thank
sports
you.
team who have achieved this moment.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes, well, at least I know personally speaking, I am a Kansas City fan this week or this upcoming in 2 weeks.
We'll
But
take over.
yeah, I
I think
will.
we missed a good firing line topic.
What
Are
was
you
that?
telling me that my Cowboys didn't make the Super Bowl?
Neither did the Steelers.
Yeah, well, I
Uh-oh.
will say, I will admit that if we did, we should have beat Cleveland.
Yeah.
That you don't
You're
win
going
when
to
you
get
give
my
up 20.
Tourette's fired up here again
Yeah.
here in a minute.
But
Uh-oh.
I don't think we
Uh-oh.
would. I don't think we would have made it through KC. To be honest,
No,
I
we
think
wouldn't have.
the Chiefs are just too hot right now, and so you guys did at least one of the best teams is in the Super Bowl this year. I could argue against Tampa Bay, but we'll let that go for now. But I am a Chiefs fan for the Super Bowl, so go Chiefs.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna keep moving down the line here, and I'm going to also welcome Will DeWitt. Will, how are you, sir? And tell the our listeners a little bit about yourself because they've heard from Joe Way enough, so he didn't need to give too much. So let them know what you've got going on and what you're up to.
Sure, I'm Will DeWitt. I'm the AV manager at College of Charleston. We handle classroom, conference rooms, events, pretty much anything like that. And I'm actually a fairly recent HETMA member. So if anybody hasn't joined, it's pretty easy. And I recommend you go and do it so you can join in with the rest of the community.
Yeah. And by the way you join, which is how Will joined, is you email me and saying, "Hey, I signed up and you never sent me the invite. Will you do something about it?" And then there it goes.
I mean, it only took a month. It's not like you've had anything going on lately.
Nothing. Just to go over that one little page and see who else has signed up.
So, well, welcome, Will. We're glad you're here with us, and we're glad you're a part of HETMA as well. And that's as I'm sure you've experienced, is that it's a wealth of knowledge and a crazy Slack channel that comes along with it as well. So, especially as of late, I feel like we've been very punchy lately, but. And I'm going to keep moving down the line. Mike Peterson, how are you tonight, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me with you guys tonight. I'm Mike Peterson. I'm the Audiovisual Experience Manager at Iowa State University. And on the side, I'm going to be starting a column on the Higher Ed AV website regarding integration matters. I don't know what was the official title. Did we come up with an official title yet, Joe?
Integrator Insights.
Integrator Insights. There you go.
It has alliteration.
So we have my first column will be come up for the February edition. So looking forward to that. I'm also currently the chair of the Avixa Technology Managers Council. So something else I'm involved with here.
Well, we're glad to have you, Mike. And yeah, if you've caught this episode first by going to higheredav.com, make sure, because it's also going to be here on February the 1st. So make sure you go look for Mike's article and find it on the website as well, and go and take a read as well. And then last but certainly not least, Greg Kerner, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, Tim. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to join. Greg Kerner, Michigan State University manager of our digital classroom services team. We're really focused on the customer service and support in all of our 380 or so classrooms around campus. And I must say this, I am an unapologetic 110% Detroit Lions fan, and just it's fine. It's okay. I understand. Maybe
That's
someday.
beautiful. No, really, that is
No,
beautiful. It takes, it takes guts to say that, and we appreciate it. Honesty.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that too.
Yeah. So it's and believe me, Greg, there are worse things to be fans of, like the Jets.
Right.
So.
Wow. But you won a Super Bowl. We have not.
You're getting there though. Like you're. I feel like you're getting there. It's gonna come. It's gonna come together for you guys. The Jets. I don't know. I just don't know.
So is that
I,
what you refer to it as baby steps?
baby steps, yeah,
Baby steps and they'll get
baby
there.
steps.
Yeah, it took a lot of years as a Chiefs fan to get me to where I'm at today. So just patience.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. As for everybody else on here who is a Steelers fan, my dad grew up in Pittsburgh and he continues to root for the Steelers and has no idea why I decided to root for the Lions. So that's probably my first big mistake in life, was not picking the Steelers as my team when I had the opportunity.
That's okay. I mean, I admit I've not been a Steelers fan since I was a child. I was more of a Giants fan, but I really didn't really follow football. And then I married into the Steelers essentially. So my father-in-law and my wife are very big Steelers fans, and it was kind of like, you know what? Let's keep the peace. Let's keep everything going well, and we're just
Smart man.
Now baseball. I've been a Yankee fan since I was able to walk. So that's 40 years of being a Yankee fan. So, you know, I will say I'm always going to be a Yankee fan no matter what happens. So, but that's baseball. We're not there yet. So, welcome to everybody. So glad to have you guys all here with us. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to Murphy. We're gonna get through our go through our PM minute, and then we'll get in and we'll talk a little bit about HETMA and about the upcoming conference. So, take it away, Murphy.
So when you are working on projects, these projects and you know, it seems like a step ahead just to organize a project and then do it. Because one traditional way of working on projects is to work them and not even think about it, but just kind of do it, kind of grab it all and start working it together. That's definitely one way. Then feel like, oh, okay, we've got projects. We're going to manage the project. That's a whole new level of sophistication. However, thank you, Spence. I feel like I'm being heard. However, if you want that project and you want if you want to do multiple projects and you know you're going to do projects over time, you need to build a little house for that project to live in, for your project family to live in. And that house is your processes. I am and have done this before, and right now I'm in the process of building a process. I'm building some forms, I'm building some habits, so that as my team comes in, we're going to do this the first time, and then the next time we're going to kind of do it the same way, so that we don't have to start every meeting going, wait, what are we doing again? That way we can quickly get it done, because this is our home and we know where the shelves are and we know where all the stuff is. So that's what it means to build your processes for your projects to live in.
That's a good piece. I like that, Murphy.
Doesn't that
Yeah.
seem to be common sense? But it's really not always. But
Mhm.
that's awesome.
You know,
Ones that didn't live in a house that were just kind of like homeless projects.
Right.
System set you free.
Some drifters.
Well, and here's the question. Maybe this is maybe this is
money.
Maybe
Right,
this
go
is
ahead,
why I
Joe.
was demoted for last time, because I took the PM minute and I made it 15 minutes. But that's okay, because I have another question. Here's what I'm guilty of. All right. And this happened again today.
Okay.
Is I get the email from someone asking, hey, can you give me the status on this? And I can't remember that damn project for the life of me. Like, I just can't.
You're like,
and I'm like, I
are we
knew
still
I was
doing that?
supposed to do a deliverable. And I'm like, okay, what was this about? And then you have to respond the email of, oh, can we get a half hour reset? Let me pull so and so in so that we know what we, and you're like so when you're not a project manager. So let's talk about, because this is the key. When you're not a project manager and we have life going on, right? I've got to worry about faculty getting served. I've got to worry about our students and all this. And now I've got this one miscellaneous deliverable that I was supposed to do from this one, meeting that was last week. How do you keep that organized? You said the process. So how can those who aren't project managers keep that process going? Because it's not my thought. And maybe
You don't
everyone else
have a
from
process yet. You don't have a process yet. That's what you're telling me. And
So how do I? Yeah. So how do I
your-
get that? Because
your deliverables are homeless. They're wandering around.
yes, exactly. So,
Mhm.
and that's the whole thing. And maybe the rest of the HETMA people will nod with me on this. Is you go to your design meeting and they go, "Hey, I need you to do this. I need you to look up and blah blah blah." And you're like, "Okay, yeah, I got that. It's no problem. It's like 3 minutes for me to do that." But the
Mhm.
second after you say it only takes me 3 minutes, that call comes in from that faculty member who needs this, and then it's gone because our job is about the day to day. And then the next thing you know, so I got some head nods here. The next thing you know, that weekly meeting comes around and you're like, oh crap. And the good thing is they call in the AV person last, so you know you have about 40 minutes to actually do the work you're supposed to do last time behind the scenes so that you sound smart when they come around the table to you. But like how do you get
This
that
is interesting. You're
process?
telling me what it's like to live in a world where you don't treat tasks and projects like they're serious. I don't live in that world. So let me tell you what it's like.
Let us know, Murphy. Clue us in here.
Don't hold back.
The world over there. I never go anywhere without a notebook. I write down and I put a little star by it if it's an action I have to take. And then before the end of the day, I collect those actions and put them in a place. There you go, Mike. Yeah. And I put them in a place where I'll work on them. And when I get to the end of the day, I know what my actions are. Now, clearly my life is full of actions and following up because as a project manager, that's what I do. But I wonder, that's really interesting. That's really interesting, Joe. Maybe I should think about like
Okay, because here's
the tiny project manager, just baby steps.
Oh,
to start
trust me.
out with.
You want to put the fear of God into any
Hey,
tech
that's my next
manager.
book.
Here's how you do it. You send the email that says, "Hey, can I get an update on this? A status update?" Like that's it. That's all you got to say. Can I get a status update? And we're like, "Okay, crap. It was sent at 3:23. Okay, so if I respond at 4:58, it'll look like I was in a meeting, and I can do that status update." Am I lying? Like everyone's looking at me going, I'm telling 100% the truth.
Yeah, no, I preach it, Joe. I'm not.
Maybe
you're preaching to the choir.
Well, I will say, like right now, we have 90 some projects on our project list, but we have, it's not a well-defined process yet, but we have, a smart sheet that we use that lists all our projects that I can go in right away. There's a status column on all of them. There's notes on all of them. So if somebody asks me, I can just go right to that sheet and look up every project and go, okay, well, this is the state it's in, and can give them an answer pretty quick. And so you have to be on it.
Start setting up a little home for them to live in. You got to
right,
have
and that's the thing.
Processes.
And here's the thing: like we have the home. The home is built.
Okay.
But it's a matter of getting people to use the home. I got people that are willing to sleep outside on the sidewalk, then stay in the house and make sure all the information is in the same spot.
Something I've started doing really recently, like the past week or two, is I've got all these little smaller one-off projects. We wanted to digital signage on this. We want, stuff like that. I was getting overwhelmed with just all these little smaller ones, and I was losing track of them. And so I started, kind of a way to train up some of the junior members and newer members on the team, giving them some of these projects and saying, okay, you own this, you've got it. And now I know when they ask me, what's the status? I go to this one guy and all the communications channeled through him rather than me trying to juggle the communication from our install team, our purchasing person. I've got one point person that's in charge of that.
There you go. That's yeah. I think that's a great way of doing it. Well,
having a person. If everybody's supposed to do it, then nobody pays attention. It's kind of like, oh, weren't you going to turn off the stove before we left to go on a day road trip?
Mm-hmm.
So,
then it's bad.
So Murphy, it's kind of like what they tell you when you're doing like emergency training is you don't just say someone call 911. You actually tell a person, like you're like, Joe, you call 911, because otherwise everyone's like, well, Murphy, no, Joe, no, Tim, no, Renee, and it's you have to almost assign it to actually
absolutely
so the
do.
person takes track.
Let me tell you about telling people to call 911. This is fresh in my
Okay.
mind.
Tell us.
Very
Tell
fresh
us.
in my mind here. And you're right on, James, because that was the mistake I made, right? When I saw the flames coming and I run in and I'm like, call 911, call 911, get out of the house, call 911. Like, and then of course everyone's going into confusion about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's smoke from the garage. Just go call 911. And then I end up calling 911, right? And I'm doing it myself. And you know who else is on the phone with 911? My wife, right? Because we're all hanging out with 911 at the moment, right? And the thing is that was it. Is you become a chase for let's just grab at something, right? And and maybe that is a metaphor for our projects. Is if we're not, and this is where I know that my weakness is trusting those whose job it is to do that job, right? And that's where the project manager comes in.
Okay.
And it will, like what you were just saying, you're very organized, you're very structured, right? I'm not that kind of person. People who know me, I'm the pie in the sky guy. I'm the idea guy. I'm the go for this guy. I'm the yell, call 911 guy. But you do have to then have that, okay, whose job is it? When someone yells in the crowd, call 911, who knows to actually listen and go do it?
Right.
Right. And then
Yeah.
everybody else let that go. I don't know.
Like we will not get it done, right? Like we need to do this or we need to do that. If you leave
Okay.
it there, that is never going to happen. We will never do anything. You have to give it to a specific person or it will not happen. So
Accountability.
So here's the thing too. All right. You guys are saying that you are not handling your projects in a little house the way I described at the beginning. So this is kind of like something I've realized in my life. I have gone through I go through my day and then I hit about 5 o'clock and go, I'm hungry. Good God. I have no plans whatsoever for dinner because I didn't think about it all day. Like, how do I not know every day that I'm going to need to eat? It's going to have to happen, but I don't plan for it. And I said, okay, make the habit of having something in the fridge to eat. So this often happens for projects too. Like it's denial. We know we're going to need it, but y'all don't do it. Y'all don't have like a guy that does the thing. That's what a project manager is for. And you have to invest in that person to basically find out the status and say, this belongs to you, and follow up with everybody and put it in the house. And all the people, Tim, where you are, who don't put it in the house and just kind of throw it in the yard. Like, no, guys, go. How's it going? Oh, it's in the yard. Okay. You need to put it in the
don't
house.
make fun of my redneck style.
Okay. But
It's,
okay,
it's for everybody to see when it's out in the yard.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, hey, admit that this is going on, realize that you got to have a person and assign a person within your environment or hire a guy, hire a PM.
And that person is the glue.
There you go.
Glue
Nancy,
that-
what's your experience with like doing projects like that? Like what Murphy's alluding, not alluding, but like leading us towards.
Manufacturer, not, yeah, I mean, I've been a manufacturing rep but nothing like, I'm a Virgo, I'm organized. So I'm like Murphy of that, I make notes and make sure that things are pointed out so that I can follow back on. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
So I mean, we all have our experiences.
It all works, yeah.
Greg, what about you and your DCS managing out there? Because that's what we call ourselves out here too.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and listening to Joe talk, I'm thinking about myself. Wow, really the only thing is I just have a little bit more hair than Joe, but that's basically exactly how I feel as well. Is you have all of these things, and then kind of distributing out. And I think about my favorite project manager to work with that we have, and the way that he kind of directs the projects that we work on is that he actually then ends up reminding me of a high school teacher that I had. Was you didn't want to disappoint him, and in math class, right? And that's how he conducts his project meetings, how he organizes folks, is that when he comes around to you, and if not that he's that he's mean or aggressive or anything about it, but he is somebody that kind of is able to command the room, and you don't want to disappoint him by not following up on what you were supposed to do. So that's, I think, my biggest takeaway from working with him. And you know, every project manager is a little bit different, but that's, I think, how my team in the past has best responded, is when we know that we don't want to let this guy down. And even if it's just that little tiny thing, and it's the 5 minutes that we have to do, not letting him down, we all walk out of there feeling, all right, we did this the right way. It just feels good when we have that feeling coming out of a meeting with him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have those partners, especially if like you're not having that, like if you don't have like that project management person within your own group, if you can partner with somebody who has those skills, because it was the same thing at Rutgers. You know, we have our own project managers. There's guys within our OIT group. There's guys from facilities. You know, we have those of us within our department that are considered project managers, but you know, we're not really like officially project managers. But yeah, having partners to have those skills definitely comes in handy. And it's also good when you enjoy working with them too. So awesome. Well, thank you, Murphy. That was that
So
led
fun
to
to
the,
talk with you guys about this. It really is. Thank you for participating.
well, yeah, us higher ed folk have a little bit of a different angle on things, as we always do. So, but speaking of, so then, yeah, let's we'll take that and we will roll into HETMA. So HETMA, for those who are not familiar, is the Higher Ed Technology Managers Association.
Alliance.
Alliance. Damn, I did it. You know,
And you're a steering committee member.
I totally dropped the ball on that. Oh, Jesus.
How's that steering going?
I crashed apparently. So it's a good thing
All
I'm
right.
not the one behind the wheel.
All right, hold on. Does that mean we have to have the conversation about why it's alliance and not association? Because everybody says association, right? It's the natural thing to come off, but we had a debate about this. We literally had a steering committee debate about whether or not, before we opened up general whatever membership, whether or not we should change it from alliance to association. And here was what. Okay, so when BC and I first kind of had this idea of we need to do this, and we put it out there, and we came up, by the way, this was like, how many different ways can we move around the words higher ed and tech manager and this and that to come up with something that people could say in one little HETMA? There we go. Let's go with it. But here's the thing. When you say association, there's a sense that we actually have to like be accountable for what we do. Right? Like you have to have the official, like file all this stuff. But we were like, we're a people, we're a community, we're an alliance, right? And I remember, Mike, you were just there like nodding your head. You remember this conversation.
I do.
Like, so all right, like, this is great. I just took over Tim's show. I did my goal.
You know, it's okay. Because you know what? When we had this conversation,
a little bit about that.
Well, because I was just saying, I will say we had this conversation, I'm pretty sure I was in my car dealing with Garden State Parkway at the time. So
I think you were.
So that was we had our HETMA meetings like at the same time as I was commuting home. So I think about at least half of them I've always been on the road coming home from Rutgers. So for those of you who are familiar with New Jersey, the Garden State Parkway can be interesting at times. So yes, I remember the conversation. I didn't participate as much as I probably should because I had to make sure I didn't literally crash my car as opposed to steering committee, veering off the road. But go ahead, Mike.
No, I mean, yeah, Joe's right. I mean, we really want it to be much more of a networking organization and a community. And so, when you talk about an association, now you're talking, I don't know, more formalized, right? It's, you got bylaws and you this and that, and you have some, well organized, plan for what you're supposed to do. We want it to be a little bit more just, free flowing community networking and not have to be so formalized. So alliance has turned out to be a lot better term for us.
Yep. Well, and it's about being organic, right? That was the whole thing. And I think that's what's been the secret of success is the fact that it's by the people and for the people, right? It's by our vertical and for our vertical. And that's the beauty of the conference coming up. And where like I sit there and go, we have the greatest SMEs from the entire AV industry in all of our various sessions. But it's all focused on, okay, how do you make this more successful? How do you make what you're doing more successful? And, and I think that that's really what has been what's made us successful is about keeping that focus, right?
Right.
And that's where when people go, okay, why are we now, up for best virtual event of 2020? We probably spend less money because we spend zero on any of our events than anybody else, right? And because again, you don't have to worry about the platform, you have to worry about the people. And as long as we're serving the people, then we know we've accomplished our goal. And that was really why we started to exist, is go, hey, as we just saw with, taking Avixa's numbers, I keep going around saying that we're $5.2 billion vertical within the US. And I guess I was wrong. We're $8 billion vertical in the US, right?
Yeah, we are.
I know. I was only off by
we
$3
spent a lot
billion.
of money. Yeah.
And so the fact that we can now advocate for this area that has a major influence, and not just, this becomes global economy, right? We're $22.2 billion or $24.2 billion around the world in AV expense within our vertical only. And I actually believe that that's not even all of our money because of how much we have spent going back channel in order to, how many of us, did the Amazon, the B&H, the, Sweetwater to get some of our stuff. And then how much of us are now in-house integrators, right? When you look at Avixa's AV spend, they look at the total amount that's sent and spent within all of the traditional channels, the manufacturers and the integrators. How many of them, okay, so we have, 6 of us in higher ed here who work at an institution. How many of us 6, raise your hand if you got a call from Avixa, how much money you spent for your in-house integration team? Wait, no one raised their hand. But if you were a third-party integrator, you would have given those numbers. So what we're not recognizing is that we are actually account for millions and probably billions more in actual expense because of our in-house teams. Like I've said, if you look at the SCN top 50 integrators, USC would have made this year, I was saying the 40s, we would have been 41. We would have been the 41st largest integrator in the country if USC was its own integration company.
Respect.
But yet,
that's awesome.
But yet it doesn't count.
No.
You'd probably be even higher if you counted the amount that individual teachers and colleges spent without asking you.
No, yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah.
100%.
The ones that go rogue, yeah.
Let's not talk about that. No, no.
Wait, no, that never happens.
Yeah, because I've got my team that spends. We have our money for our classrooms and things like that, but then we also have each department has their own small AV group, and some of them have their own classrooms, and they spend their money doing their things that later on they come down and ask us, how do we fix this? Because they did something that they can't figure out. But yeah, that's, if you added up all those into one
or they buy
for Rutgers,
or they buy the consumer grade panel.
Well, yeah, let's not even talk about that.
So if you're talking,
I have to fight you there, because I have actually purchased the Sony consumer products and I am loving them. I've never had a problem with them, and I will swear by them right now.
But if you do have a problem with them, you have a 90-day warranty in a commercial environment.
Yep,
that is true. That is a downfall, I will admit. But when it's only $600 and it comes with an RS-232 port and gives me my 4K, I'm fine.
Sorry, Murphy, you were saying, go ahead.
I was going to say, Joe, with your, wouldn't it be interesting what you're talking about is having you're talking about in-house integrators. Well, how to set that up, how to set that up properly. It would be a really great article to say, here's the steps you need to do. Here's how to get the, one of the things that integrators can get I understand is they can get like deals and they can get actually direct pricing, but maybe there's a way to do that as a in-house integrator. If you
Well,
share that, that'd be.
It's funny you say that.
I was gonna say, it's interesting you bring that up, Murphy.
But that is basically our thing. Everyone knows my mantra is "Let me buy direct." Hold on, allow me to rename myself to "Let me buy direct." But see,
Amazon is my friend. Yeah, that's a bit of a change.
But here's the thing. That's what we keep saying, and what we're noticing is a change. There, by the way, should I break? Are we breaking news here? Are we breaking news?
We could be breaking news.
Let's just say that there will be a buy direct channel for HETMA members coming up very soon.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. How about that?
You heard it here.
For all of us
that?
For all of us who've been trying to buy direct.
Uh-huh.
And you might want to check out my column again. Speaking of my column, because we talked about buying direct in my column this month. So
see, how about that? Breaking news. You're gonna attend HETMA conference February 9th through the 11th. Please go to hetma.org in order to register. And you're gonna check the day this comes out, Mike's column at higher@av.com.
Yeah.
On how this comes together.
I think one of the things that makes us successful at HETMA is that we are focused on our vertical. That Infocom does great for their own reasons. EduCause does great for their reasons. CCUMC does great for their reasons. But when it comes to HETMA, we are so focused on what we need and what the people that are involved need. That's how this conference becomes so successful. It's we really listen, and we have everybody like involved that we really can do what we need to get done.
So how's that? How is that buy direct going to work?
Thank you, Spence. That's what I was going to bring up.
I know. We saw certain eyes light up with that.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I hope you don't have any problems.
So, all right. So I don't know if this. Here's the thing. All right. Hey, Tim. Guess what? You have your topic for the week after HETMA conference. Do you not now? Because this is where the debate comes in. How one, I'm not going to give away I'm not going to give it away here. But let's just say that what if, hypothetically, HETMA could be recognized as a distributor? Just saying.
There you go.
Hypothetically. And then that's where you now can build those relationships. Because I was actually, speaking of our co-founder, BC, was on a call today with BC. We do our bi-weekly venting session together. And this was the conversation, is we sat back and went, look where this has come in a year and a half since we had this crazy idea. Back at about episode, I don't know what it was, 25 forward, early on in the Higher Ed AV podcast, BC and I welcomed Chris Netto and Mark Coxon on to present HETMA and our idea. And the thing is, we could barely even say what it was. We just knew that this thing had to exist. There's this conference that is, there's this thing, there's this missing bit. And what we represent and the advocacy that we know is missing from the industry. Now, fast forward, and you think, and I still remember the day, I walked up to Mike here, and I'm like handing out swag, and this guy's looking at me, this weird dude, handing him stuff that he's never heard of. And now we have this organization that I'm getting calls and emails of people saying, I need into this thing. What you guys have going is amazing. And now and I think that it's because of, and let's go full circle to the word alliance, right?
Yep.
Is that we are a community. And when you look at the commercial world, you will never, ever, and this is great because if you listen to the episode that Mike was on, or the podcast, a few weeks ago, right?
Yep.
And he said, you would never in the commercial world share your trade secrets. You would never share how you do things. But you know what we do all day on James's higher ed Slack channel, we share all of our trade secrets. We share the solutions. We share who the good. I'm sorry, I'm gonna break some. I'm sorry, cut me off, mute me any minute if you want. But here's the thing:
You're rolling, Joe. You're rolling.
We share who the good reps are. We share who the good manufacturers are. We share all the stories of who treats us well, who doesn't treat us well. We share how we should, who's paying what. We share line drawings. It is 100%. But here's the thing: it's all to help one another. 100%.
Joe.
What?
HETMA award-winning.
HETMA award-winning Slack channel. That is correct.
That's right.
And I think that that's what we're seeing. Is we're seeing that this respect and this growth because we have that power. Now, that being said, here's who that helps. This helps the manufacturers because now you can get not just all this. Here's the thing: the fact is, we spend a ton of money. We all know we spend a ton of money. Let's get past that. All right. Here's who it helps: you can get that one-on-one, 100% input on what we need. And we are going to tell you exactly what we need. I was on a call today with a manufacturer giving 100% input into something they had sent me. And I know I'm not going to tell you who it is or anything like that. But you know what I got after that? They said to me, that was the most brutal anyone's ever been. And thank you.
Yeah. I've said it before. I've said it before on this show, and I'll say it again, is that manufacturers who are successful in higher ed listen to higher ed.
Yes, I agree.
And that's, it goes for Williams, it goes for, it'll go for, other employers that may have been involved in other, other people in this group. But, the ones that are successful listen to us. They give us our needs and make those adjustments to make the sale. And
this is one of the things that differentiates us because, I'm also the chair of the Technology Managers Council with Avixa. And some people ask me, okay, well, wasn't that filling the need that HETMA is trying to do? And no, it's not, for a couple of reasons. One, Avixa, for all the right reasons and all the good reasons, they have to be very careful with, you basically can't talk about where you buy things. You can't talk about good or bad manufacturers. It's like literally written. You have to sign a statement saying you won't do that because they have to be very vendor neutral on everything that they do. And as the association that they are, I totally understand that. And that is right for them to be that way. But what HETMA gives us that channel where we can be brutally honest. We can evaluate, we're talking about potentially evaluating products, giving them a HETMA seal of approval. Some products will get it, some products won't. This is the type of thing that the Technology Managers Council was not going to be able to do. And HETMA gives us that channel.
I'll say probably one of the best things we have access to is students and teachers. Who's better at breaking things than that?
True.
One of the first things I do when I get a new piece of gear in for evaluation is I put it in our student room, like, here, break this. We had a new touch panel, whiz bang display, whatever. And I'm like, here, play with this, see what y'all think. I go in an hour later, they're playing Call of Duty on it. Great. Let's put it through its paces, see what it can do. Tell me what I'm not going to have time or be able to figure out or even think of. And then once y'all have done it, we've done some internal, discussions. Let's hand it to a teacher, see how they're actually going to use it in a classroom. Let's really find out. There's a device I had in, and we thought we had it figured out, but then I handed it to a teacher and then had some more discussion with the manufacturer, and there were a whole set of features we hadn't even thought of that it could do that we needed to evaluate. And so I think just having that conversation between like-minded individuals and people that work in the industry and are actually hands-on with this is invaluable versus just taking what some engineer thinks might be the use for this in a classroom.
Well,
or even an integrator who may or may not have the best firsthand customer experience. They'll have their own experiences. How do you integrate this well and easily? But from a day-to-day usability perspective, an integrator may not be able to give you the best answers from that. And this comes from an individual who spent 19 years as an integrator. So
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
this is interesting. Like Nancy, like to your point. So here's the question for you is as users, wouldn't you rather me come to you and say, by the way, if you make XYZ, or I love this product, or I try this product, and say, by the way, if this happens, I'm not going to buy one, I'm going to buy 400 of them. I mean, doesn't that help you as a manufacturer to know that you can now serve the vertical directly?
Well, well, you brought up a good question with saying about as an organization or as an alliance. You know, I remember when I worked for AMX that there were some accounts that were direct, which caused a riff with integrators, and it was a fine line. And it was one of those where it was, well, you know, we'll give you this amount of business. Okay. Now, in today's day and age, they didn't have at the universities, you know, like a full integration department that was capable of being able to support it. When I came on to Williams, the one thing I said to them, and I'm educating in other areas, I guess, is there should be focus groups. I'm saying with our products, you know, yeah, it's fine. The engineers are producing what they believe the end user will use and how they'll use it. But I think the best is just like Will said, send the product, even in beta, send it out to whether it be integrators to end users and have them break it. That will only help us in be able to, you know, produce a solid product. So I'm there with you on that. The direct thing, actually, Williams does have a couple direct accounts that I have learned, such as the the church in Utah. All of a sudden, I'm forgetting about it. The Latter-day Saints,
Yeah.
because it's around the world. So, I mean, I guess there are certain accounts that you could look at that. But I know it's been over the years. It's just one of those sensitive topics.
And you know, and here's and actually, I think we need to go back to sorry, Tim, you don't get your show back.
Go ahead. That's...
You know, and maybe Spence, because we have to go back to Spence because he brought up the topic as to, so obviously that's the what's the other way. But before we do that, we'd say that Mike, when we had this conversation, and this is again, we had this conversation with HETMA as well on the back end. Is this how we want to go? And Mike brought up a great point and said, what we also have to worry about is we can't just be numbers and say we want to buy direct, because we also have an importance that I actually don't believe every institution should be allowed to buy direct unless
100%.
you can prove that you can meet the qualifications of an approved integrator. Do you have people on staff who are certified? Do you have people on staff who can do a proper design? Like what, as a manufacturer, you would have certain qualifications to make an integrator your silver, platinum, gold, whatever alliance type of, you know, member. We as institutions should have to prove that. And that's what we're doing with HETMA is we're saying, look, we're going to have this program, but if you want to be part of the program, you also have to prove it to us that you deserve to buy into this channel, to even put our name on allowing you to then go down this way, you know, and we're making that agreement to be able to be that, so that people just, because last thing we want, and I know you like how I just threw it to Spence and threw it to Mike and then I took it back over, but because the last thing we want is then to say, oh, here, we just want to save money. Here, go buy here. We have a way you can save money. Well, it's not about saving money. It's about bringing quality to your faculty and your students, right? And we have a responsibility to the industry to also be upstanding members of our AV industry as well, right? And not just be here because we want to try to save money. Is that one part of it? Sure. But that really is actually a small part of it.
So, Joe, what's the feedback you got?
What was that?
Let's say Renee and Nancy were both talking. So
who sets those parameters with training? Because I mean, obviously your training with Crestron is going to be different than your training with the display manufacturer with the projector. I mean, who sets that within the HETMA organization? You know, this is actually kind of the next step that we're taking. I mean, I think right now it's kind of the same thing. If we put an RFP out for a preferred vendor, say, you know, we're going to ask how many CTSs do you have? How many CTSI? How many CTSD, et cetera. So right now we're using those same type of parameters. It's probably not perfect and we're working, you know, this is kind of the next step for our organization. But these are the things that, you know, we don't want to blow this for us either.
right? And I think that there is this sense, which we're hoping that also builds up the organizations that we actually might have to say no to, right? Sorry, you can't buy direct. You can't be part of this program. Maybe that will also help them say, okay, what do I got to do? I got to go to this training. I got to take these things. So again, it's a work in progress, but hopefully an important one.
Yeah,
let me.
Because we have people that hang their projectors by duct tape in Southern Missouri. So have some of those.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've probably seen a few of those on the AV Nightmares group on Facebook. So
let me make a couple comments
ahead,
here, Joe, to what you were saying. I can remember when I was at WVU, and we were our own integrator. We were hanging and banging ourselves. We were sourcing everything. We were in charge of our own budgets. We had to go beg for budget, the whole 9 yards. And I fired 2 major manufacturers because they quit picking up the phone after they got my 80 grand. Okay. That I always told them, I said, you know what? I am the nicest guy to get along with until you make me mad. And then I'm going to be a problem. I said, I'm not going to bug you every day, but if you see one of the 2 folks that works with me, their name come across your caller ID, pick up the phone. Because if you see my name come across, you know I'm on fire. And, you gotta, and I told him, look, I've the third one that I had, I said, I've already fired 2 people off of this account. I said, I'm not married to you either. I'm just asking you to be responsive. I'm not going to bug you every day. But when you see my folks come across your caller ID, pick the cotton picking phone up. All right. And that's how you get more business, because I got a big mouth. And, that's just the way it is. Now, on the flip side of that, though, I think you have to be careful, kind of going to what Renee and Nancy were saying, that there's only so much, because now I'm on the other side of the equation a little bit. There's only so much that vendors and manufacturers and integrators can maneuver. So, and a lot of times that's a question of numbers. So, be careful to, to have those good, honest conversations with your partners together, because I will guarantee you one thing. I would venture a guess to say that somebody that had tried to work with you there, and then you decided not to work with them there, and something breaks that you need their help, they're going to be a little bit hesitant to help bail you out there. I'm just saying, keep those lines of good communications open there. But, everybody needs to have upfront conversations and be honest with each other what your expectations are. I told them right up front when I was at WVU, these are my expectations. If you don't meet those expectations, I'll have to make a different decision, and I will.
So, I mean, that's one thing is I don't think the relationship's going anywhere between higher ed and manufacturers, or even higher ed and integrators. I'm sure Joe, Mike, and Tim and everyone else can attest to this, but most of ours projects is I'm calling the integrator to be the middleman. He is the one who's, we cut them a PO, who cut the PO to the manufacturer. And it's like, all we're doing is really kind of asking to take out that middleman. Now, with that inside there's times where we could have a special project, which could be over what we need, or like we don't have the staff, the resource, or even the knowledge to handle. And that's where the relationship with the integrators come. I feel bad when I reach out to my integrator and be like, hey, can you quote me 20 projectors, but no install? I mean, what kind of markup is he really making on just drop shipping?
I think there's probably a larger conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, this
That's
might
okay.
be an idea topic for a future one, but yet I feel like there's probably, to me, in my mind, there's box sales, which is, we need 20 projectors, we need XYZ, just give it to me, same as going to Best Buy, Walmart type thought process. Like, this is what I need, give it to me. There's also, okay, I'm going to need you to come in. We're going to be redoing these amount of rooms, this building. I've run into situations just like this is why it'd be nice. Like Joe's been saying, sales direct, where I don't want to have a long conversation. I don't have the time for it. I need 20 projectors. Give them to me. Let's just move on. You know, yeah, I know you're going to mark it up, but I can't buy them otherwise. So, but I've run into integrators that want to have like, we need a needs assessment. We need a document. We need to, I just give it to me. Let's just do this and move on. I've got other things to deal with. I don't have time for this.
Bingo. And you know what, you nail it though, right there. Because here's the thing. Like, let's use Mike as an example. Sorry. But when he was right before he went to Iowa State, he worked 19 years an integrator, right?
Yep.
So it was okay to sell to him while he worked at an integrator, but as soon as his place of employment changed, now it wasn't, right? Nothing changed with him, right? But and they're but you know, the financial stability of the company he's at. Oh, like, so I look at USA. Oh, you mean our $16 billion endowment's not enough for you? Is that what you're saying? Our financial stability, you know? And so that's what's interesting in the industry is it has protected that kind of good old boys club for years and years and years, and that needs to change, right? And you know, and because the industry has changed. And
how many questions are on your RFP?
Oh God. You know, funny thing is I had it today. It's like 6 pages long. I can find it.
That's my point. Do you realize how much time somebody has to take with a 6-page RFP, 70 questions or so?
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that, Joe, is I have a very dear friend of mine that is a vendor in the Federation. And we've had this conversation numerous times. He said, I would love to help higher education. He said, but they don't. And this was when I was still in higher ed. He said, their RFPs are insane. He said, I'm a small shop. He said, do you realize how long it would take for me to bid on all these things? And then only to not even get even a sniff. So my point is, you know, there's two sides to these coins when it comes to, you know, going to a dance.
Right. So, I mean, this is
100%.
becoming a very big conversation here, and definitely things that are a really big thing that's going to be coming out from HETMA. So stay tuned as we, you know, as that comes
So
out.
you're saying a bunch of higher ed people are having a deep conversation? Whoa.
Who would think?
See, we do a good job of discussing our needs and what needs to be done. So it's yeah, we have the right players in play right now. But let's go back to the conference a little bit. Now, this is HETMA's already had a very successful conference. We're bringing it back twice.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Twice, and now we're heading on to the third one. And so as Joe already promoted, it's February 9th through the 11th. From, you know, without, I don't want to take over, because I know the steering committee members or the members that are below here that were on my grid here have more to input to say, but we've themed every day of the 3 days. You know, a lot of the things that have been constant within other HETMA conferences are back, and so I'm gonna we'll go back. So Joe, yes, if you'd like to say a little bit more, and we could lead it, we gotta give it over, or I could just give it to Mike Peterson and leave you out of it entirely.
I'm always happy to talk more.
Oh, of course you are. I know you are.
You know, and here's the thing. Here's the biggest change I think of this conference, and if you want to sum it up, I think it goes to how we've evolved as an organization. Can I? Am I? You're not going to kick me off the show. So here we go. Let me be real. Or HETMA started as 10 middle-aged white guys, and we were called out for that, plain and simply. And we're talking about the importance of diversity, and people are going, "Look at your steering committee." And so, what we actually made a a 100% dedication to was actually recognizing that we had to walk the walk of what we're talking. So the biggest change that we're going to see, and we hope we see this next conference, is that we actually are bringing in those voices who are not always heard, that we make sure that every panel has female representation, that we are actually, our very first keynote is actually called AV's Higher Ed Diversity Dilemma, right? We're bringing in a lot of other voices, and that was all we always thought was our strength. Our strength was we reach out for the best SMEs in the industry. But what did we do? We picked SMEs that actually look just like us, right? And so that's really the biggest change. And we, I sit there and think higher ed should really be the feeder for the rest of the AV industry, right?
Mhm.
We talk in higher ed, like our administrations are proud, which I am too. I'm going to say, of like USC, we are proud to be the single highest percentage of international students of any R1 institution. We hang our hat on it. We love it.
Mhm.
So why are we not investing in those younger and diverse student workers who can then be fed into our AV industry? We have a force that we can be able to impact. And now we need our conference to represent that. If we're going to say it, we have to do it.
Hey,
There's my soapbox.
Yeah, and I think we've definitely made strides since that call out to really move in that direction. So I think, yeah, it's something that needed to be done, and it's not the work. I don't think, and the work will never be done, but it's a constant work in progress.
So the conference, just getting back to the conference.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
So as you said, every day's themed. Tuesday is going to be a theme about leadership. And of course, the very first keynote is about the diversity problem. As a leadership, that's got to be, one of the first things that we're tackling. The Wednesday session, it's a tech day is the theme for that day. And it is.
Hey, can I just say that something is ringing funny with me talking about the diversity problem? Why frame it in a negative way? Why not say increasing diversity or something like that? Just something to consider.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we thought of it because we do have a problem.
It's a dilemma.
Right?
Yeah.
And let's, or dilemma, right?
Dilemma. Yeah. It's
the
listed
dilemma.
As
and here was the thing.
Dilemma.
What I love, so during our June conference, the one that is up for best virtual event of 2020, which we will, by the time this is out, we'll know the results. But we invited Charmaine on, who will be joining us as well this time.
She's awesome.
We basically asked her and said, hey, so how do we fix this? Her response was a mic drop moment. She said, you created the problem, you fix it. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay. I changed from, host interviewee to, oh, you're right. I'm not fixing the problem by bringing Charmaine on. I'm fixing the problem by fixing the organization.
It's not a problem. Truly, it's an opportunity. I kind of feel like shamelessly understanding how to make it better. We can go sit in shame, and that's wasting our energy. We don't have to. Let us embrace that. Oh, look, here's an easy way to here's an evidently apparent way that we can make our whole organizations better that we missed. Oh, good. Let's do that. Why can't it be rejoicing? It could be.
Love that. I love that.
That's fantastic.
That's well done, Murphy.
Murphy's a rock star.
Yeah.
And then when you find the person, you don't find them and say, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't ask you sooner. You can be like, wow, we're so glad you're here. And that changes the whole tone.
There you go. I mean, so yeah, so there's
that's like beautiful. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, Murphy literally gave us a mic drop on that. Like, like done.
Aimlessly pursuing diversity.
Well, and I think it goes like when I started in this industry, I think the numbers were in the 90s, male to female in the AV industry. And that's gotten better because of the education, because of women in AV, because of Avixa. And so you're right. Put a positive spin on it and let's just work on it, moving forward. Let's not beat each other up that there's a bunch of middle-aged white guys in this industry. That's kind of just that's the way it evolved. Now, what do we do to change it going forward? So I'm glad you guys are doing that. But I mean, it's not like you're being it's not like you're not including people of diverse backgrounds. It's just about educating of what your organization stands for. I think you're doing a great job.
I agree with you, Renee. Yeah.
I think normalization and observing, not focusing on, is probably the better way to go with it. Going, yeah, this has been a problem. Not, oh, we've got to make a special. I don't have a good way to put this. Sorry about that. But yeah, like,
not addressed.
Yeah, it's great they're here, or it's great they're coming in. We're bringing them in. We want to give opportunities. We need to recognize what have been the problems of the past. But we also don't want to make people feel like there's a specific reason other than the fact that they're qualified, they're great, they're good. Awesome. Let's move on. Let's make things the way they should be.
Yeah, good points, Will.
I agree. I mean, for me personally, maybe because I'm a younger generation, I'm not that 40, I'm close there, but I'm not there yet. I've always went for the best person for whatever situation. Person of color, female, transgender, it doesn't matter. I never thought of that. I just always went to the best person. And my thing is, look at our industry. After ISC, how many people were very upset about that Booth Babe robot?
Yes.
All right. Everyone's talking about we got to raise up the tides, change this practice out there, and then look at the AV Professional Awards for TV. Not one female on there. Why not? I mean, look right here. We got 3 here alone who are well deserved to be nominated. I mean,
that was a great thing that you brought out. We were pulling it out like, hey.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was only one person of color on there as well. I mean, and this is nothing against AV Nation because I know they didn't do it. This was the nominations, but that just shows that we can't let the conversation die because we as a society do that too much. We're like, oh yeah, we got to fight this, we got to change this, and then we go on and nothing changed.
Well, that's part of why I think shamelessly pursuing diversity is an important shift, because it's a downer to say, why didn't I do the right thing? What's wrong with me? I didn't choose a diverse person and I also don't floss. What? Stop it. Stop it. It is important to choose a diverse person because that diversity adds to the reason they are better for the job. Diversity means they have a different set of experiences. That means they have a different set of ways to solve problems. That's what we're here for. So if we go into a room and we're like, okay, we're going to design, and I always thought I should use my VGA cable. Oh, I need to do HDMI now. Oh, you're right. I don't need to feel ashamed and lose sleep over the fact that I chose VGA instead of HDMI. We don't have to feel shame. Just do the right thing and recognize a better way of doing business. Shame is a downer. I don't think it helps anybody.
Exactly. I've been trying to think of it more of as the way we look at things as tech people, and where we tend to kind of circle the wagons and look at things from a tech perspective, and there's a natural inclination to put the users on as the others, whereas we need to bring them into the conversation and I've been trying to kind of preach that a little bit as a way to kind of bridge the gap there. Our purpose is to serve the users. Our purpose is to make things better. So anything we can do to
That too.
make that conversation better and go back and forth more openly and say, what do you need? How can we serve that is really, yeah, like I said, the better way to look at it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's all just be better. Let's go be better and feel glad about it.
I love that.
And I mean that's something we could extend to everybody. I mean, that's especially like those who are in higher ed that are listening to this podcast right now. Like if you've got folks that are reporting to you or you know of that are in technology and you want them to be involved in the conference, don't be afraid to pass along the link. Like, just let them know. Like there's like I want you to, because you never know, just cluing them into what we're doing will bring them in to be a part of the organization. So I mean, it's got to cover everyone, not just from within us as well. So, but yes, we need to get everybody. I think yes, I agree with Murphy. And Murphy, you're so adamant on it. I love it. That yeah, we just like you said, it's like, oh, I used the VGA cable. Okay, well that's okay, but I just got to make sure I use HDMI. It's like, so we still support the VGA, but
Or I used a monoprice cable, and I should have got a better one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, come on. As tech managers, we will always tell our departments and our customers to use the, $300 cables. And then I will, neither confirm nor deny. I used to drive right by Monoprice right here in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And they have a wonderful pickup window for my home installs.
Well, I was say we use Kramer HDMI cable, so
Okay.
To Michelle Lorette out there, I use your product. So
Hey, I appreciate that now as well.
there you go, Renee. So yeah, and then all right, so Mike, I think we got back off track a little bit there, but that's okay. But let's
It was an amazing voyage off track. It was great.
Yes,
so,
no, totally.
Absolutely.
It needed to be said, and we had a wonderful, it was a 3-hour tour, 3 hours, and now we gotta get back before we end up stranded on an island somewhere. So,
sure. So,
continue on, Mike.
As I was saying, so I had mentioned that that Tuesday was Leadership Day. Wednesday is Tech Day, and we're going to be doing that in conjunction with Rave Launch Week, assuming a tweet I put out today doesn't ruin that for us.
That's done. No, just kidding. We're looking forward to that.
And then Thursday is our Design Day. And so we're looking forward to seeing what each of those theme days can do for us. We start every morning with what we call a morning coffee. It's a little bit more chill, informal kind of time. And so it's always a good opportunity. The middle of the day, of course, is the meat of it. We have some tech themed breakout rooms planned for the lunch hour. And so we, a little breakout time, some networking, and just some opportunities to get to know some people a little bit better. So we're excited about that. And then of course we end every day with a happy hour, networking happy hour. And so those are always also a good time. So it's a great program we have lined up, and you can go to hetma.org and learn more. And we would love to have all of you come join us.
Yeah. And Greg, what's been your experience? I don't want you to fall in the wayside here. So what's been your experience with HETMA for those who are like kind of maybe listening and go,
yeah,
should I do this? Like, should I spend 3 days or like, but mind you, you don't have to spend 3 days. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, no, there were kind of two things that I wanted to comment on, and especially as we talked about Association for Alliance, when I was, exploring all these things and kind of really diving into AV on Twitter, and really saw Alliance, that honestly, that got me interested. I that feeling and opportunity of just association, just kind of it feels old and sticky. And then when I saw like Alliance, I was like, okay, this is feeling good. And then being able to contact folks, via Twitter, and then, hopping on the Slack channel, I kind of felt like, now I'm kind of finding my people, right? And these are the folks that I want to talk to on a, kind of on a, maybe not necessarily a daily basis, but they understand now finally what is it like to do this in higher ed? Because when I talk to other folks that are outside of this, it's kind of like, how does that, or your experience, Greg, ever translate to anything else? And it was, it felt difficult to explain. And now when I have the opportunity to simply talk to other folks who are involved in these things, it's a very welcoming community. And truly everybody is really welcome inside of the organization. And being able to even just, kind of today hop on the podcast today and have an opportunity to listen and to think. And, now the back of my head is like, I gotta email Murphy. I gotta talk project management, all these things with her now, because I was able to, opportunity to recognize it as a, simply a gap kind of on my end, but it's just it feels good to know other people who go through these things. And then, honestly, at some point in time, I think, I'll be honest, what, Joe's doing over here is like, it's been extremely motivational for me to further my career. And, I know that he probably hears this all the time. And then I think about, what Mike and James and Tim and everybody else is doing is it as, I'm looking here on Zoom and it's forcing me to re-examine and to look at and to say, we can do this better. We have opportunities, and that, maybe what we're doing here isn't always necessarily the best, but, we have an opportunity and good colleagues now and a great community to make those things, kind of go. So I'm just grateful that Joe and BC had this great idea, right? To kind of string us all together, because it makes total sense. And, when I have I'll just say this, when I have a chance to talk to a manufacturer, of my choosing, and I say, do you know about HETMA? Do you know what we're working on and what we're doing and those kinds of things? And sometimes they say, oh yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. Other times everybody's like, oh yeah, I know that Joe Way guy, and so it's I just the opportunity there I think is so great. And I'm hoping to, for HETMA to give the opportunity to some of the folks on my team to stop in to see some of the just the events and what's kind of been put on for everybody. So just a big thank you for me to to the team and everybody over there.
That is awesome to hear. That means that we have 100% achieved the goal we set out to do. That is fantastic.
2 thumbs way up. Well, that I think, I think that is a very fitting note for wrapping up about the conference and everything. So as it's been said, go to hetma.org, register. Don't miss it. As you're listening to this, it's February the 1st. So you have a little over a week. So make sure you register. And again, you don't have to be there the whole 3 days. That we recognize that we're higher ed people.
What are you saying?
What? You should be there the whole time.
I have a session each of the days, so you have to be there all 3 days.
We're taking
At least
attendance.
the 4:00 one on Wednesday.
Hey, Joe, can people get CTS credits for doing this?
By then, I should be able to say yes. We're working on it. We're getting it in. We're getting it in.
I thought that was a done deal. I'm sorry.
That's part of that project management thing
part
that
of
Murphy was talking about.
Yeah.
Is that the drifter on the sidewalk?
Those things that I remember to do once someone puts it on the Slack channel.
Put it in the house, Joe.
Yeah, just put it in the chat room.
Build up your house. Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry.
I'll say yes.
So yes. Well, attend as much as you can. Don't miss Joe because you'll hurt his feelings. And, but we recognize that we're all higher ed AV people. It's February. Some of us are in session. Some of us are remote. Some of us are planning for summer. Some of us, who knows? But take the time.
Some of us go wee all the way home.
All the way home.
I know.
Yes.
I was going, but you know what, Tim? Watch me take over your show one last time.
Well, what else is
because
new?
not just about the higher ed people. Here's the thing: why we know one thing about HETMA is that we have as many people who are manufacturers and integrators who are affiliate members and or who also attend the conference, because you get to hear, it's kind of like being a fly on the wall. You get to actually hear what we talk about behind the scenes, but you get to be there. We actually value our integrators. We value our manufacturers because we know that this isn't just about us. We might be an organization to support us, but really it takes everybody. You know, and it's, I know people might think, oh, well, we don't, they want to get away from integrators. No, I have three great integrators who I give all of my business to, and I cannot be successful without them. Right. And so this is our opportunity to build those relationships, and for everyone to know and for them to hear, you know, what is it that that this vertical needs so that we can better serve them. So this is for everyone, not just the higher ed people.
Well said.
You can have
Well
your show
said.
back.
Well said. All right. Well, I think that's and that I think that'll do it for us here at the AV Life tonight. So I want to thank our guests.
Today.
What was that?
Some strong drink today.
Some strong, yes. A lot to digest out of this. So it's a good meal, and yeah. So you take the time, listen. Joe's got an empty cup. He's sad. I still think I have a little bit left in my bottle, so I'm okay for now. But yeah. So take the time, register for the event. Thank you to our guests, to Joe, to Will, to Mike, to Greg. You know, you guys, thank you for all your input, and for you know, passing along this information to our listeners. Because and again, it's not just higher ed folk that listen to this. We have everybody that listens here. So, you know, hopefully you actually listen to this episode if you're not in higher ed, and you got it, and you can join us as an affiliate member, as Joe just said. And so thank you for your input, crew. Thank you guys and ladies very much. Always a pleasure to have everyone here. I'm going to throw it runs real quick to the to our guests, because I know the crew has said it over multiple times. Guests, from Joe, Will, Mike, and Greg, where can people find you? Joe, go.
You can find me, how about this time, at hetma.org, right? Or at hetma_org on org on all the social media. I just remember that HETMA conference was the first virtual conference out there. We were virtual before it was cool, and we are considered the premier. And yeah, we were first. Just remember that. Okay, I'm done.
All right, Will, what about you?
You can find me on the HETMA Slack. Will DeWitt. You can also, I mean, if you want to, feel free to hit me up on my work cell phone at 843-834-6427.
Wow, all right. That's a
Ooh,
bold move
wow.
there,
Boom.
Will.
Throw it out.
Bam.
There for the people. Wow.
One
Yeah.
ringy dingy.
And yeah,
All
DeWitt,
right.
WR at cfc.edu. So
There you go. Hey, Joe. Actually, before we go to Mike, there was a question in the chat. If somebody cannot make it to the conference, is there going to be availability of recorded after the fact?
They are all recorded. Whether or not this chair of this thing ever actually posts them is a whole other story. But yet they are all recorded.
All right. Well, there we go. So
Huh? Okay.
there's a possibility. All right, go back, Mike. Thank you, and let the folks know how they can find you if you want to be found.
No, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at ped1971. You can also email me, mikeped@iastate.edu, or look me up on LinkedIn.
There you go. Thank you, Greg, and let them know if you like to as well.
Of course, on Twitter at gkern, GKERN. And then you can find me at my email address for Michigan State at KOERNERG@msu.edu.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert, at the AV Life Pod, also at higherEdAV.com. And until our next adventure.